Is that you, Ned Ryerson? Hey guys, this is Evan Kadu coming to you with another video about my life here in Japan. So I wanted to talk today about something that something I would personally consider to be the most difficult thing about living in Japan, and that is the comparison that you can make to the hit 90s film Groundhog Day starring Bill Murray. What I mean by that is that in Groundhog Day, basically he has to relive the same day every day. He has the same interactions with people. He has, he can predict what everyone's going to do. Great movie. I love that movie. That's a really nostalgic movie for me. And also, I one of the reasons why I moved to Japan was originally because I watched Lost in Translation by Sofia Coppola, also starring Bill Murray. So, it's kind of funny. Somehow I have this kind of weird connection with Bill Murray. We're both Chicagoans. Maybe I felt some kind of kingship with this like Chicago symbol living in that movie in Tokyo and, experiencing things. So, but why is it like Groundhog Day? Well, let me talk about that a little bit. So basically in Japan, what happens is that everybody kind of experiences having the gaijin conversation with you every single day. Basically, they're having a conversation a lot of the times for the first time. And a lot of my experiences when I first moved to Japan were outside of Tokyo, too. So I think that's informing my opinion on this just a little bit. But, basically, when people meet a foreigner here, a lot of the times it's the first foreign person they've ever talked to. They have all these kind of questions they've been thinking about in their mind that they wanted to ask a foreign person if they ever had a chance to talk to them. And you're kind of fulfilling that role to them almost as like a party trick or something. I remember 10 years ago reading this article that was like why you shouldn't study Japanese or something, right around the time when I started studying Japanese. And I remember having a conversation with one of my university friends in the US at the time. I went to university in the US for 1 year and then also went to university for 4 years in Japan and graduated. If anyone's watched my previous videos and was wondering about that. But basically, we were having this conversation. And at this point, I decided that I was going to leave and go to Japan and study Japanese. And he was talking to me about this. He's like, well, I saw this article and it's like, basically they were saying like, don't study Japanese because, everyone's going to want to talk to you in English anyways. You're basically like a party trick. And if you try to speak Japanese to them, they're going to be disappointed and they want to have like the gaijin foreigner experience. So don't bother studying Japanese. It's not worth it. Like that's basically what the article was about. And, at the time I was like, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be that guy. And I want to actually try to have real, authentic relationships with people. And I don't want to just be like, some like one-off experience for people, right? So, I moved to Japan, really setting these high goals of like living my life in Japanese and completely immersing myself in Japanese. I went to a language school. Nobody else spoke English in that school. It was all, other Asian students for a whole year. Jumped into university here, took all my classes in Japanese pretty much, completely overwhelmed. And if anything, I took it too far. Like I kind of have like some minor regrets where like I look back and I'm like, maybe I should have just had more fun. I didn't need to like set this insane goal for myself. To do everything in Japanese and, whatever. But, I felt like because I'm here and because this is what I'm doing, I wanted to go all out and do it right and not have any regrets that I like fell into a gaijin bubble or a foreigner bubble. And I'd heard so much about that along with that article since moving here where it's like, if you don't do things 100%, you're just going to hang out with other foreigners all the time and you're never going to learn Japanese and then you're going to leave after a couple of years. And so basically I had that conversation with that friend and that was kind of the beginning of that like idea of like kind of being a party trick for people here in Japan, right? I'll bring this together somehow. It's getting long-winded. But basically, over the course of living here for years and years and years and years, one of the things that started to wear me down is this kind of like groundhogification of life here. Basically waking up every day, having the same conversations with people, being asked the same questions over and over again. Why did you come to Japan? I mean, that makes sense, but it like, I've literally answered that question probably 1,000 times and I still don't even know how to answer it. Like, seriously, like I've changed my answer probably 100 times. Can you eat raw fish? Can you use chopsticks? Have you ever dated a Japanese girl? Blah, blah, blah. The things they ask you like over and over. There's like a set of 20 questions that you will get asked every day, every time you meet somebody. And if you look annoyed or kind of like put off by that, then people are not going to want to talk to you. if your answer seems overly rehearsed, it seems weird and people aren't going to want to talk to you. But at the same time, there's only so many ways you could answer the question without coming across weird. So I've kind of like, and this kind of goes hand in hand with like just Japanese practice in general, and something I want to talk about more in another video. But I've taken the approach of just like experimentation and just like learning practical Japanese, recording it. The more times I encounter the same thing, I emphasize studying that more. I mean, it makes sense, but I feel like this is not the way most people study languages, right? And most people like go through a course and a textbook. But I've taken a very practical approach to things. And, in the process of doing that, I've also done a lot of experimentation where like I have my phone underneath the table at dinner and I'm like looking at a list of words I've studied over like the last week. I used to date every single day. I would save a list of words I studied. I'd color code them, I'd date them, whatever, time them. And then, I'd be like at dinner and I'd be like trying to casually find a way to slip in the like Japanese word I'd learned the day before into conversation. So just like that kind of process of just like every day, like kind of, experimentation. But that also like goes into like those kind of questions you have to answer every day. So people will ask you these same questions, and I kind of like would start experimenting with my answers and then seeing how people react to it. And I think when you do that every day, I went to university, so I met like 1,000 people over a couple years, and like when you do that literally every single day, and honestly now it's like Japan, there's 3 million, 4 million foreigners here now. When I moved here there were 2 million. I mean, like it's getting to the point where it might not even be possible to have that experience fully anymore, but like from 10 years ago my experience was like that every day, like just kind of these like kind of leading, sometimes weird, semi-racist probing questions about me, and then just like finding a way to master that conversation and taking control of it so I could steer it in a direction where it actually becomes an actual like back and forth that's like a real conversation and not just like, again, that one-off experience. Because what happens is if you just answer people's questions, they'll ask and then they'll never talk to you again. They're like, okay, I have my experience talking to a foreigner, I'm done, right? You have to turn it into something organic and authentic, and that is like an art that you learn. And so I guess indirectly over the years, and now I'm doing like freelance sole proprietorship stuff here, is like I kind of learned how to do sales a little bit by moving here because you learn how to kind of steer the conversation into what you want eventually. But at the same time, I think it messes with your head. It fucks with your head after years, and you start to kind of wonder like, like, are my relationships real? Are people only talking to me because, not only because I'm a foreigner, but because I've like kind of practiced like my rapport so much that like I've like nailed the like first month of a relationship. But what happens when we've been talking for 6 months and I don't know, I haven't practiced that as much? Are they just going to stop talking to me? And it sounds stupid, but like the repetition, the constant repetition, it really does get to you. Same thing with just Japanese study, like I was saying, when you're like spending every day just like you're looking at billboards, you're looking at signs on the train, you're at the store, you're looking at menus at restaurants, and you're like studying things, and every single minute is study, 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 study. It's like it's really hard to turn that off, at least for me. And I went through a period for a long time where like I was just I didn't know what to do with myself. Like if I went home and I went back to the US, I'd be like depressed because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with myself all day. And then I'm getting like anxious and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it is like, it becomes kind of like this like survivor thing, like the survivorship thing. And also it's like something that's like exhausting and annoying, but also something you kind of like learn to depend on, where it's like hard for me to have conversations where we start on the same equal footing now. I wonder if that's what it's like if you're like a famous person or something. I don't know, but it fucks with your head, and I've been here for about 10 years. So I think I've gotten to the point now where like I've found that balance, and you're always going to have these like off days or days where you get like too into your head or whatever. But I think I've found like, and maybe that's just me getting older too, but I think I've found kind of the balance in that, and like the balance in like finding a way to put best foot forward, kind of steer the conversation, but still keep it pretty authentic and just feel like, this is just kind of like the step, this is the phase of this relationship, and then I can push through that. So, yeah, that's something to think about. Like, if you're thinking of moving to Japan, and I've talked about this previously, if you don't like being put on the spot and you don't like kind of like feeling pressure about like how you're answering things, you don't like public speaking, you don't like, having to say something funny and like in the moment within 3 seconds or people aren't gonna like, respond. Like if you don't like that feeling, you probably shouldn't come to Japan because that kind of becomes every day for you, And again, I don't know how that's going to be moving forward. I mean, I feel like things have changed even since COVID, but this was my experience from like 2015, the last 10 years or so, January of 2015. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hope you guys find that interesting and it's something to think about. Yeah, and if you want to know what it's like to live in Japan, watch Groundhog Day and then watch Lost in Translation and then watch Groundhog Day again. That'll give you an idea. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I make videos like this about my life here in Japan. I'm going to make videos that are more edited in the future, but I'm just kind of trying to just put a bunch of stuff out there right now. So if you guys like these kind of videos, I'd really appreciate you supporting me by subscribing. Of course, whatever. That's what everyone says, all right? But yeah, anyways, either way, hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye, guys.